Hey everybody, it's shame busting coach Jen Bovey from www.jenbovey.com. It's Friday. I'm really trying to figure out why my hair kind of resembles the days that I don't brush it before I come into the office. But I seriously did, so it's got to be okay, and this is how we're going to look today. So the question of the hour is, what if you don't deserve to love yourself? Dun dun dun. That's not a thing. It's not a thing at all. I'm not a big fan of the word deserve because I feel like, and I haven't really dug into this, but I feel like the word deserve itself is very shame-based because we're not using it to lift anybody up. We're using it to hold somebody back or hold ourselves back or punish ourselves or whatever. So it doesn't really matter to me whether you think you deserve to love yourself or not, because you do. Deserving has nothing to do with it. So I want to kind of briefly go through some other myths. I posted something on my personal Facebook page yesterday about what myths had people heard about self-love, and I just kind of want to debunk a few of them. So I wrote them down. That's what I'm looking at. The first one is you can't love anyone else until you love yourself. Absolute bullshit. Just straight up bullshit. And here's why it's bullshit. Because I don't care where you start. You can start with loving your dog, your cat, your pet frog, your turtle, your goat, whatever. You can start wherever you want. So you get to pick where you begin your self-love journey. And the thing about it is, for me, I don't care where clients start. So if you need to use your dog to experience self-love, perfect, great, don't care. If you need to use your child, your husband, your cousin, your mother's best friend, whatever, I don't care. What I care is that you start somewhere. And so for many people, the reason why this is so false is because we need to have that experience of loving someone else so that we can love ourselves, so that we can be like, oh, I get it now. That's what love feels like. So now that I know what it feels like to love someone else, I can replicate that internally for myself. Does that make sense? So it's not always that people are doing something wrong or bad or whatever. Sometimes we just need a starting point. And if the starting point is externally, great, perfect, don't care. Do what you got to do. The next one is going to be a little bit more controversial. The next one is that millennials are obsessed with self-love. What does that even mean? What does that even look like? This literally breaks my brain. A person, a human being cannot be obsessed with self-love. It doesn't work that way because real self-love, good self-love, true self-love is self-empowering. Real self-love, good self-love, true self-love is amazing. So who wouldn't want to be obsessed with that? And maybe, just maybe, the millennials are leading the way in how to treat themselves for the rest of us. Another really big misconception is that self-love is selfish. It's really not. And I kind of don't understand why people think it's selfish. And yet I kind of do. I think that the misconception here is that if I love myself, then that means I can't love you. Or if I love myself too much, that means I'm not going to care about you anymore. Not accurate, not true at all. What it really means is, I didn't bring a cup in here. If I had a cup and the cup was empty, what it really means is I maintain filling my own cup first so that I have more to give to you. So when I'm doing a really good job of loving myself, I can show up and be present, choose myself, and as a result, I can choose you and I can be present in our relationships. So I don't buy into the selfishness either. Another one is you don't deserve it unless you work really hard. Well, who's to determine what hard is? Some days, for me, breathing is hard. Some days, for me, getting out of bed is hard. Some days, nothing is hard. So I don't think that hard has anything to do with it. And again, I think that one really spirals back to that deserving thing. I don't believe that we should measure things on deserving. I used to have this friend, and he would always tell me when I would say, well, I don't deserve that, I don't deserve this, I don't deserve that. And he would just look at me and he'd be like, deserve has nothing to do with this. And it really caused me to stop and think, why do I think that I have to devalue myself in order to value something else? Another one is self-love only applies to those who have it together. What does that look like? This is going to sound a little offensive to the people I love and care about, but I don't know anybody that has it together 24/7. I don't know anybody that always has all the answers. I don't know anybody that always has their stuff together. That's not a thing. the world is imperfect. We as human beings are imperfect. So I'm much more motivated to love me because of my imperfections rather than despite my imperfections. And the difference there is that if I'm loving me because of my imperfections, it's honoring my imperfections. It's like, wow, you know, one of my eyes is a little bit bigger than the other one. And I love that because that makes me unique rather than, oh, one of my eyes is slightly larger than the other eye, and I'm not sure that I can love myself because that's kind of awful. I don't care. You gotta do what you gotta do. I gotta do what I gotta do. At the end of the day, you are worthy of loving yourself. I am worthy of loving myself. Each and every human being on earth is worthy of loving themselves. And I think that if we came from a place of self-love, I think if the world operated from a place of self-love, we would have less meanness, less bullying, less argumentative crap. And so I'm really motivated to teach people how to love themselves because we are worth loving ourselves. We honor ourselves by loving ourselves, and we honor the people in our lives by operating from a place of loving ourselves. Does that make sense? I feel like so much of the world has convinced us that loving ourselves is wrong, it's selfish, it's greedy, it's whatever, and it's really not. And so what has happened is we've developed a world of people who are operating from a place of self-hate, and that doesn't work. And it doesn't work because it's not sustainable. Because eventually you burn out if you're hating yourself. Eventually you fall down if you're hating yourself. Eventually you just don't have the energy to get back up. And so I'm going to be perfectly honest with you and tell you the thing that gets me out of bed most days is the fact that I love myself. And so because I love myself, I want to keep my commitments and I want to honor those people that I am supposed to show up for every day. I want to treat myself really well. I want to take care of myself. And all of these things allows me to be a better wife, a better mother, a better sister, a better daughter, a better niece, a better friend, a better business owner, a better boss. All of these things trickle in line and are raised and elevated in their success because I'm operating from a place of self-love. So my recommendation is two things. Join the self-love adventure because it's going to be a good time. And two, check out where are you operating from a place of anything less than self-love. Because if we're operating from anything less than a place of self-love, it's not working. It's not effective. There's a hiccup in there somewhere. There's a hitch in there somewhere. And I want to empower you to operate from a place of self-love because from there, everything falls into the flow. Everything works out the way it needs to work out. Obviously, it's not a magic cure-all. I'm not waving my magic wand here. But what I am saying is that when I'm operating from a place of self-love, my stressors don't even show up on my radar. My frustrations, like a speck of dust. So it puts things into perspective for me. And I've noticed this to be true in the lives of my clients, and I want to empower you. So go to my website, www.jenbovie.com. Check out the self-love adventure. Check out Living Out Loud. Check out the self-help section. Make some decisions for you based on loving you. I'm in, are you?